Thanks for joining us once again. This is Greg. Today, we like to bring generally good news in terms of what's going on with Tesla, but today I just want to introduce a question, and I have a partial answer, but I think it's a critical one if you're a Tesla investor heading into the future. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So today, what I'm kind of focused on is there's a big discussion going on online regarding 100,000 Germans having been surveyed, and a huge, 94% of them have stated they would not buy a Tesla. So clearly they didn't do that. Germany is the most important sort of location in Europe. And so my goal today is to sort of review that data and what the implications might be for Tesla going forward. And I have more questions than answers, but wanted to just present the data and let you decide how one might address the circumstance. So the answer then is that, and so we're kind of two phases. Phase one, well, what exactly was said, and number two, the other part of it is what I think is going to happen based on what we're hearing. Anyway, so the first part of the discussion is, as I said, I've actually chosen this location because we have a little bit of a duck pond here on Long Island, and thought you might want that as a background. So basically what we're facing right now is the fact that Elon, for whatever reason, has chosen to go for the Heil Hitler symbol, and as we've discussed before, even doing that symbol in Germany could actually cause, some legal troubles. And then his support of the rights, who won the election there is another variable. And now we have all the stuff that's happening with the US government and all the firings that are going on and rehirings and all that's going on. So with Teslas being firebombed and attacks on Tesla service facilities around the world occurring, it just seems like, there's nothing to report there. You can make your conclusion based on what you're seeing. And then there's all kinds of data points that are flying off of that. Like if you're looking at resale values of Teslas, they're dropping dramatically. There's just a lot happening. I have to say, I'm kind of stunned because there's so many companies that I can think of, BMW, McDonald's, all these different companies that every day spend a huge amount of money to protect the reputations of those companies and therefore the relationship with customers. And watching Elon torch the whole thing in terms of everything he's doing across several different businesses of his, in my mind, is like, he typically has had a good plan that's worked out pretty well going forward in a lot of cases. I have to say though, I would say that I ain't seen it in this case. So this kind of ends our discussion of the general data of what's been going on. The next phase is sort of, well, what do I think is going to happen here? I believe that if the pain in Elon's pocketbook becomes large enough, I think he might be inclined to rethink particularly some of the public statements he's been making. In particular, I've noticed that we have not seen any new sort of intense Nazi or other behaviors. The only thing we seem to be seeing is a destruction that he's wreaking among jobs when it comes to U.S. entities. I was reminded on something that I read a few years ago about Elon, where there are some executives that pointed out that anytime Elon was going to be at the facilities, there'd be a general note and encourage employees to sort of disappear if they could, because Elon would arrive at work and just decide someone would be fired. And it wasn't an if, it was a when and who. So managers would encourage subordinates to aggressively not be around because there'd be firings for no other reasons. Another element of this I was reminded of was that the technique that Elon liked to execute on Tesla firings was that people would find out that they were fired when their badges didn't work anymore for admission to the company. So what we're seeing now is sort of par for the course of the type of things he might do and the outcomes we're getting. So the next part is, what do I think is going to occur? Well, I see a cycle happening where Tesla comes out with numbers that are down, and then everyone, including the marketplace, has no idea what potential future customers might do. Will they choose to not buy? Will they choose to simply slow down? What exactly will occur? The best case scenario is that in some way Elon finds a way to bite the bullet and apologize and look for ways to sort of heal the customer relationships that have been harmed by the things we've seen recently. That is the smart way to go, and I don't get the sense that Elon is interested in any kind of olive branch. I think, number one, what's going to happen is that he's going to be stubborn about it. The disaster, particularly the hit to his net worth, has to get bad enough that he is now deciding to turn over a new leaf and go in a different direction. When will that occur? I have to say that I think it's when he's worth less than 100 billion, heading for 50 billion, or heading towards zero. But he's down $100 billion in a couple of months, and it doesn't seem to be fazing him whatsoever. So it looks like the pain needs to be greater. I think what we're headed for is that as the number of vehicles keeps declining and there's a pileup of already constructed vehicles that are not selling, I think we're just going to have to move to a facility shutdown for new production, because you have to sell off what you already have. And then if that stop in production does not prove effective after a certain period of time, let's say a month or two, we're then going to see mass firings have to occur, and then we would see a further drop in the, as we see revenue and profit continue to drop, we'll just keep cycling down in that fashion. I'd say the only silver lining that I can come up with out of this whole thing is that because Tesla is part of an index, usually stocks would go straight down on negative earnings and profits. But what I more see happening here is because of the indices that Tesla's a part of, that the decline will continue to occur quarter by quarter, but is slowed by the fact that Tesla's a part of so many indices. And I'm hopeful that somebody on the board, or Larry Ellison, or some of the other billionaires sort of powwow with him and decide to say, hey, let's find a way to separate you from the company, or have you turn over a new leaf and start doing something else that both you and the customers can work with effectively. So look out for a very, very seriously painful ride here. I think the next stop after the production numbers we get on the 1st of April is probably about $150 a share, heading for $125 a share in that period if the numbers are as bad as I'm anticipating. Once again, we want to thank you for taking time out to join us. Next, I'd like to review our health tips. I wanted to note that many of our viewers are 45 plus, 50 plus, and one of the things I've been learning about is better balance. So one of the encouragements is to learn how to, or spend some time balancing on one leg, each day for a period, because it'll improve your balance over time. Just a reminder, 25 leg lifts a day and a 20-minute walk each day is a wise move relative to all manner of health effects. Once again, thanks for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, au revoir, lahit road, hoda hafez, trajichi ni hao ma. In Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good, arrivederci, namaste, and thanks for joining us once again. Have a great day, and bye for now.